Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blades. So today, Imperial Guards. Are they any good? Well, to start this off, initially when I first got these guys, I felt absolutely not. I didn't really like them. I didn't feel that their defense was much better than the Spear Sergents, and yet their attack was significantly less. So I kind of felt they didn't really have a place because, bar the very odd exceptions, and a little bit in territory wars where you're trying to optimise and min-max things and defence kind of works, you know, beyond that sort of situation in the average siege battle, I found I could do a lot better with Spear Sergeants. But then I've started to get used to them a bit more recently, and I've started to have a few really good games with them when you can kind of get them to work for you how you want. And that's partly because I think as we've continued down the veterancy line, things have been getting better, both in the amount of damage they do and in terms of their sort of block and their strengths. And this is only going to be getting better as we keep going further down. I'm particularly looking forward to getting to the end one, not only because they look really badass, but 20% buff to all defenses, and you can see that on the defense attributes at the bottom. It's really quite significant, and that's going to take their piercing defense to almost 850. We've started getting close to sort of Iron Reaper levels at that point. So that's really quite nice. I'm really quite looking forward to that. So yeah, so the defense really is good, and the more you play them, they seem to really improve as they go down the line. And of course, every level you get a bit of extra health as well on them. So they're actually starting to come pretty tanky now, which is obviously what they're supposed to be. So they're actually starting to fulfill their niche, I feel. On top of that, while their damage output is significantly lower than Spear Sergeants, combined with their much shorter weaponry, they don't seem to apply that damage kind of so well. If you throw them into sort of a fight and you work them with kind of a melee hero, obviously I'm playing Poleaxe, and I think that combination of quite a lot of CCs against enemy units works quite well with them, because they then can start to apply the damage. You know, if you knock a unit down or you break its block, something like that, then they seem to start to apply that damage a little bit better, and kind of start to become a little bit more enjoyable. I really want to get some better doctrines for these guys, because currently I've not really got anything. I've just got an increased piercing defense. I might take this one off. I just threw it on there because I was just testing kind of how it worked. I've got a health one, but 250 health doesn't really seem all that much. Although, you know, it's better than nothing, I suppose. So maybe it is worthwhile doing. But I'd love to get some sort of an increased damage one or something like that. So I'm going to be trying to push for some infantry-based doctrines soon as well. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say about them. We can have a look at unit kit cost. It's obviously expensive, so for 2 kits they're 6,900. And they're obviously a 32-man unit. I'm up at level 10. You're starting to get into the realms of pretty high experience now to get them each turn to try and get them to level up. It's going to take a long time to level them up. That's just inevitable. Same with all units. They elite out at, I think, 18. Oh no, they elite out at 16 at the end of this line here. And then it's 2 more on top of that you can get on this line at the top. I'd certainly recommend the bottom line over the top line. It's just really focusing around the defense, which is where all their strength is. Anyway, we can have a quick look at them in the territory, but there's not really a lot to gain. I've started to go a little bit down the other side because ultimately I want to start looking at Reapers, and that means obviously I have to do the physical training, and then I've got 4 blocks worth of ranged weapon cross training to do as well, which is going to be fairly expensive. But ultimately it reduces the amount of range damage they take, which is always nice, so kind of worthwhile having anyway. But anyway, let's hop into a battle with them, see how we get on. I've got a really good one to show you today, so yeah, let's hop into a battle and see how we can get on with these Imperial Spear Guards. So, we are just over a minute and a half into the start of the siege. At the start I was just playing around with some of the artillery and stuff, nothing particularly interesting. And I just noticed that the siege tower's coming in here and there's a few heroes building up. So I've stuck my Spear Imperials on the stairs behind me, just so they're safe down there. You can see them forming up now. And I was just kind of waiting to see what, if anything, was going to come up this siege tower. Kind of having a bit of a look round. Didn't want to stick them right in front of the siege tower. The biggest problem I think you face on sieges like this, particularly early on, is the risk of getting trebbed. And that's kind of what I'm trying to be hyper aware of. I'm trying not to leave them too much in one place at the same time, or trying to think that when someone's going to get the opportunity to treb them, I just keep sort of move them around as and when. I was kind of seeing if they were going to push up that ladders. They didn't. We get these serfs coming up. Obviously, woodcutters, serfs, whatever they are, serfs, I think. Yeah, obviously they don't stand a chance. I mean, it's not really a testament to the Imperial Spears being good so much as they're able to defeat a unit of serfs. But, you know, there we go. And then you can see, I'm kind of watching the skyline continuously. We're kind of a bit of a blob here. It'd be very easy. You know, it's not worth killing a unit of serfs to then get trapped. You know, the loss is just not worth it at all. But nothing seems to happen. I'm trying to keep checking up on the skyline when we're getting in. That hero kind of overextended a little bit there, and there's more of just poleaxe him to death. We get these domain spears coming up, and not really a massive threat to us. This archer was a little bit of a pain. He did a good job for a low-level player. It goes to show that you can actually be quite a pest as a low-level player. But I didn't want to chase him all the way down the siege tower. I didn't think that would really be a benefit. So 50 kills straight off the bat. I mean, obviously, Imperial Spears like this, against those lower tier units, they just sort of flatten them, because their damage isn't so bad. Even though they have relatively low damage, you know, compared to serfs and things like that, they still kind of stomp them really easily. But even then, they took a little bit of damage, a couple of heroes as well, so all in all, that was kind of a nice little start. And I thought, right, okay, we took a little bit of damage, a few of them are quite low, we've still got a full unit, and they're not pushing super hard here. Let's pull back to the supply point, get them to heal. I thought there's no point me going there so I can position them from the wall. I kind of went for these archers just as these spearmen ran, but thankfully the heroes controlling them stuck them on attack mode. It's absolutely perfect. Meant we just pushed into these archers. 3 kills, really, innit? It's just, if you're going to bring your archers up into that sort of position, that's really not what you want to be doing. Pushed far too far forwards with no support, and it's just some easy kills. I could have engaged those rest. I kind of thought it might have been worth doing, but then there was an archer hero there as well, and I thought if I got stunned once or twice with those sort of groups of archers stood next to me, then I'll probably be going down pretty fast. Then, as I was running back down towards my spear guards, I noticed that we're losing A. I was kind of surprised, because looking at a glance on the minimap from here, it doesn't look like there's really that much on there. So I was like, oh, okay, right, we'll quickly grab my spears and started to run up this way. I'm not going to get there in time. And there's actually a bit more there than I thought there was going to be. So I'm sort of hanging around, kind of waiting for my Imperials to turn up a little bit, thinking about what I want to do. There's a fair bit of stuff up there, and obviously they're now going to be spawning on or around the walls because they've already captured the A point. So ultimately we're never going to be able to hold this section of wall, and I'm kind of conscious of picking and choosing my fights. These spear guards are an expensive unit, 250 leadership, something like that. I don't want to just throw them away on a pointless defense to try and get 30 kills or something. I'd rather keep them alive and pull back and hold B if it comes to that. So in the end, I decided to pull back. But then, as I'm pulling back, I'm towards this supply point on the other side. I noticed that there is only a couple of enemy heroes on this bit, and by looking at it, they don't seem to have a lot of support. Yeah, this was bad. yeah, poleaxe problems. Yeah, no, that was just not a poleaxe problem. That was just me being a noob. So I was thinking, right, let's try and get up here. Look and see, there's a couple of archers here. Not really a lot here in support. Doesn't really seem to be a lot moving up. So I thought they were a pretty viable target for me to kind of get into. So we just get the CC on that short sword, and then I'm just pushing into the archers. He runs away, leaves the archers for dead, which is fine by me. You know, basically a free unit kill. That's something that we don't have to deal with later. And I'm kind of conscious about trying to hold this supply point on the right-hand side of the map, because that stops the enemy basically from pincing even round on B from both angles, and that's kind of what I was trying to achieve. So we deal with that. But I'm not going to stand on that wall all day. It's not really what I'm trying to go for. So I pull back down, start to think about what I want to do. I was very tempted to push up here, push into those guys down there. But then, as we do that, we get some enemy reinforcements come up. Some sword militia, I think. Yeah. A fairly big unit, but nothing that should be too challenging. With an archer hero, we kind of just push into it. I just go hard. We get these men-at-arms pushing up with us as well. Yeah. Sword militia doesn't really stand a chance. But you see, Imperials, in the right situation, do decent amounts of damage. They hit pretty hard, and because they're so tanky, they last. You know, we've been going, I know we've been back to a supply point to heal once already, but, you know, they actually last quite a long time in these sort of situations. Because of that sort of the high amount of health, very high amounts of defense, you can hit multiple fights, and if you win and come back, your unit isn't just decimated like other units. Yeah, that was a bit pointless. Not doing very well with my poleaxe ults at the moment, am I? Then, I'm not quite sure what he was thinking. That was a very brave move. I get absolutely knocked down by that short sword. Good move by him. As we get pushed into more units. So we're clearing through these sword militia again. I noticed that we get hit by behind. That that short sword that I chased off earlier has come back and is doing a good job of hammering me from behind. Absolutely right move by him. Causing me kind of some distraction. And then as we clear up, I wanted to get into these archers because he's just applying damage to us. Starting to quite low on a lot of my unit health, so you can see on the bottom bar, but down to red on quite a lot of them. So I wanted to clear those guys up. I have a sneaky little look up here, but a guy Bard is pretty on the ball, already pulled his archers back out of danger, and I'm not going to be chasing him across the map. So pull back and back to supply point is my first sort of port of call, because we're all a bit damaged and I want to get a bit of healing going on. I was a little bit conscious of, I didn't know if I could be trebbed from here. So I was trying to pay a little bit of attention. Or at some point I think I realised, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if I can be hit over that wall. So I was kind of trying to keep an eye out, so if I saw something coming I could make a dash away from the supply point. But so far things are going pretty well for this match. I know we've lost A, which is a shame, but we seem to be holding the enemies at B on the other side, and on our side we are holding this supply point, which is what we're really trying to achieve. So as I do that, I start to pull back to the centre. I call my guards to me. I'm starting to look for my next fight, because there doesn't seem to be that much pushing on this point. And a couple of heroes come through the gate. And they start to come through with quite a few units, quite a few archers. I'm thinking, oh, archers, lovely. Got all my shields up, start to advance. Then we get a spear militia coming through. Get hit by that guy who, obviously it means he kind of pushes right into the middle of the unit. He just about activates iron sights in time to resist the damage, and you can see. But if that had been any other hero, they'd have been dead. But then we get some proper spearmen coming up. Starts to actually get a bit of a fight going on. We've got our friendly men-at-arms with us again. So I'm just trying to use my poleaxe here now just to throw my weight in, using that CC to try and break the block so that my Imperials can actually get some damage in. We then get a pike militia and a spear militia coming up as well. And suddenly I've gone from kind of into a normal fight into actually really quite a big fight. We've now got 5 heroes in front of us. I think there's one also behind me at the moment. And I'm now trying to shimmy myself along to use this wall on my left to stop myself getting outflanked. Because we've got those men-at-arms still kind of a little bit further around to my right. And I'm trying to just target select. That hero gets himself too deep. I can clear him out. We're taking casualties now. 8 men are dead already. And this fight hasn't been going on that long. Actually, I lock onto a bloody pikeman there, which is not what I want, trying to target the hero. But by being able to sort of pull back a little bit, just shimmying yourself back a little bit, pushing up against that wall, stopping yourself from getting completely overwhelmed, we're able to actually just pull back, and the Imperials were just able to fight people from the front. They can keep their damage up, they can keep their defense up, and they're actually able to get quite a few kills, and we were able to drive the enemy back into that gateway, even though we were pretty heavily outnumbered in that situation, particularly by enemy heroes, and enemy heroes can do an awful lot of damage pretty quickly. So someone slightly bravely comes forwards with his Spear Sergents. He came a little bit too far forwards. No one else on his team kind of supported him, not with units at least anyway, and so they kind of got overwhelmed because we also got these Prefecture Guards coming in. And now the enemy Spearmen moves up. I don't know why they didn't move up with their Spear Sergeants. That would have been the right move for them. But it means we can continue to kind of apply some pressure here. Obviously, casualties starting to mount up at this point. We're down to 23 units, but we've been in combat for the entire game now, and we've lost 9 men. So that's how tanky these guys are and how long they last in the right sort of situations, if you can avoid trebs anyway. So I was conscious we're kind of getting into just a real grind fest here. I did see him as a little bit of an opportunity for an easy kill. I kind of got a bit stuck in the wall here, but I managed to get myself out. And then I was thinking about re-engaging in this gateway fight, and I just noticed that unit of archers down there. I thought it could be a worthwhile cause. But that bow hero does a very good job of applying damage to me. And, you know, I'm burning. I'm getting pretty low health. If I push down there trying to leave my unit, I'm just going to get killed. So I pull back, go for a bit of a heal. I'm thinking about pushing into the back of these guys directly ahead of me rather than trying to chase a bow hero who's doing a very good job of being quite the pest. See, I'm trying to get him. I think, sod it, let's go for these crossbows. Turn around. I think, oh god. Thankfully, they actually don't hit me that hard. I thought they were going to hit me a lot harder than that. And I just push into them with the Imperials. But bear in mind, we're down to about half strength unit, and a lot of them are in a pretty bad way. We really start to rack up quite a few kills against these guys. A couple of archers who I think I kind of took a bit by surprise. But then there's a couple of enemy heroes now coming around behind me. Lots of enemy reinforcements starting to turn up. I just got a little bit cocky at this point and pushed myself a little bit too far forwards. But with only 45 seconds left on the match, it didn't really matter. And there spells the end of my Imperials. But I really enjoyed that as a match. We'll wait just to see the end now. But I found that really fun, partly because they lasted such a long time, which is one of the things they seem to do so well because of that such high amount of defense points. And they can do damage, you know. We've got a lot of kills. I think it works out about 170 unit kills with those Imperials there. I know some of them were against lower tier units, but some of them were, a good chunk of them were against Spear Sergeants and other Imperials in that gateway fight, against higher tier units, and quite a few hero kills as well. I think a lot of it comes down to they work really well in conjunction with something like a poleaxe hero, because I can throw my weight into it. If you're a bow hero with them, I think you're going to struggle more because they'll just get CC'd by other melee heroes. I think the ability to throw your weight around as a poleaxe hero, it is pretty important and kind of makes them quite a good unit. But anyway, that's really all I've got for you today. Imperial Spear Guards, well worth checking out. If you enjoyed this, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for a load more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.